Thank you so much for joining us here on Queen City News Plus. I'm Morgan Francis. May is a Mental Health Awareness Month, and we wanted to bring in Jaron Doby to talk about kind of the landscape for mental health, specifically here in the Charlotte area. Jaron, you're a social worker, clinical social worker with Novant Health. Tell me a little bit about your background first. You have more than a decade, almost 2 decades of experience in the field, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'm currently an outpatient mental health therapist. I've been in mental health for about 17 years now. Gosh, it's hard to believe, but have just dedicated my life to so many different facets and avenues of mental health. And I've landed here now as an outpatient therapist, so I'm happy to be here.
So when we think about mental health, it could include literally anyone. It can impact anyone of any age. First responders versus average Joe. Is there any client who you work with in particular, or do you see, the whole range?
So personally, at this time, I only see folks from the age as young as 13 years old up until the geriatric ages. So that is the population that it is that I see, and doesn't matter if it's male or female.
When it comes to that younger population, the 13-year-olds, what are you seeing in terms of is there a pattern? We talk so much about social media being a negative impact potentially on the younger population. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you seeing any sort of trends in the past few years?
Well, I would say that COVID has definitely changed a lot for everyone, right? It put a lot of our personal issues and things of that nature like up into the forefront. Like we really have to look at this from really all sides. We've had kids that that were once going to school as an escape, right, from in-home issues that range from a lot more serious things, right, to a lot less severe, right, that have had to sit within that or be present within, you know what I mean, those atmospheres or settings for years, or to be absent from communication with folks, that face to face contact and those interactions, and then return back, of course, to those social settings again, or gone from teaching themselves or being used to a particular learning style to having to then readjust, right, to what that looks like. So, yeah, it's just a lot that has gone on during that time frame that's just changed a lot for children, families, individuals all together. So yes, there is an adjustment. And of course, with uh the boom of social media and how big that has become in our lives from day to day, this is definitely something that has an impact, both negatively and positively, right, on both children and adults. So it really does depend on exposure, right? What it is that we're taking an opportunity to consume, right? And how we're processing those things as well.
What do you advise your clients who are struggling with mental health, and how do you figure out what might be fueling that?
Mhm. When it comes down to anyone that sees me that is dealing with mental health, I like to remind folks that self care is not selfish. Taking an opportunity to take care of yourself in situations like these is very much so important. And it's brave to ask for help. It doesn't mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that you cannot handle it. It only means at that point in time that you are brave. So we're here to fight the stigma, to make sure that folks know and understand that in coming to see your provider, and in order to be able to ask for help, it's not a matter of you looking weak or just being unable. It actually is something that is one of the most brave things that you can do. And every day is just a fresh start. So being able to take it one day at a time and being able to address our issues and being able to get help, understanding that change is a process and it's not an event.
What would be some of the signs for someone who's struggling to know that they should seek out help, or someone who might think maybe I'm just being dramatic, or maybe this is me, maybe I'm just thinking that it's a problem when it's not? What are some of the signs that someone could recognize that they do need to reach out to someone such as yourself?
I want to start by saying that everyone is different, right? How it is that I'm able to cope with things in my life may look different from what every single solitary other person, right, may look like when it is that they are looking to cope. What I would say is to that, when you know you need help, when it gets beyond your ability, your personal ability to be able to help to cope, excuse me, in a healthy manner, right? What do I mean by coping in a healthy manner? when it's beyond your ability to be able to do anything, right, that'll cause you or someone else any hurt, harm, or danger, right? So you're helping in healthy manners that are not causing you or someone else any hurt, harm, or danger. So when those personal skills of yours get beyond your ability to be able to function, then yes, it is important to seek help. But what can that look like, right? Let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this. We're talking about changes in sleep routine. We're talking about changes in mood, right? In some way or another. We're also talking about changes in appetite, any kind of increased anxiety, changes in concentration can be one of those things as well. Changes in energy level, like fatigue and things of that nature, are important as well. Irritability, just being able to not stop thinking about or stop the surrounding of the intrusive thoughts, right? That continue to be able to come, and our inability to be able to control that a little bit more. These are all factors that can go into that. That is not all of the things, right? But these are some of the important hot spots to be able to pay attention to.
What would you say the difference is between someone going through a slump and someone needing to reach out? I know you just provided a comprehensive list, but is there a distinction between the two, or is a slump worthy of reaching out just to keep your mental health in check?
So I would say ultimately at the end of the day, it's definitely one of those things where a slump is just one of those things that they can be more so, I guess, defined on how it is that we feel. We have to understand that everyone again is different. What looks like a slump to me, right, can be your normal range of functioning on any given day. So it's we have to make sure that we're practicing mindfulness, right? How are we thinking? How are we feeling? How is it that we are behaving, right? If a slump more so is something that is temporary, right? If we're going to kind of identify it a little bit more, and that you're able to work through that. But if a slump becomes something, right, that we have identified as a little bit more long term, it is affecting your ability to be able to function. It's affecting your ability to be able to take care of yourself, right? Or that day to day functioning. We need to make sure, right, that we're paying attention, but it is imperative to make sure that even in slumps, that we are treating them as serious as if things do grow to be larger than that, right? In order to be preventative in any way from these things being able to, of course, get to a place that is a bit more unfavorable.
And Jaron, you probably know these stats, but I want to read them to anyone who might be watching this on Queen City News Plus, because they're staggering. 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness. 1 in 20 adults experience serious mental illness. 1 in 6 youth have a mental health condition. And then, you know, talking about minorities disproportionately affected, all groups, ranging from racial, ethnic backgrounds to LGBTQ plus. Is that with how much information is now out there and encouraging people to seek out help, and as you say, get rid of the stigma, do you think those numbers are improving, or that they're going to improve? Where do you see those numbers in the years to come?
Well, once upon a time, in my line of work, now it's 1 in 5. It used to be 1 in 4, right? Was something that was very much so publicized. But I want one of the largest takeaways that I want to take from this information is that there is more knowledge of it now. There are more people that are coming to the forefront in order to be able to express issues with their mental health, right? In order to be able to seek treatment. We have to thank our younger generations for that, right? This is going back to the social media boom and things of that nature. Literally, like, social media was one of those things that definitely put mental health up into the forefront. It began to publicize it. It began to popularize it. We're seeing mental health t-shirts, clothing lines. We're seeing mental health commercials when once upon a time we never saw that, right? If
People
you
didn't
think
talk
back,
about it.
right, right. This is something that is happening within the realm of conversation and communication now. We're increasing that. It is happening more often, and this is important because never forget that, with the heavy stigma that was once on mental health, we were only pulling knowledge and data and things of that nature from folks that were even dare or brave to be able to report what it is that they are going through. right? And we're talking about different factors that can impact that, from culture to where it is that you live, right? To how it is that you grew up, your age, right? When you were born, right? Your sex as well. Like, there's so many different things that go into that. So, what it is that I am more thankful for than anything is that, that folks are actually being able to express what it is that they are going through, that they're taking an opportunity as well to make sure that they are actively seeking help, and that is something that we are seeing more of. So I'd rather see those numbers be able to increase as it relates to, right, what's happening with folks, because that only means that they are reporting it, and we are hopeful that amongst those reports that they are also getting help. So we can't ignore the knowledge, we can't ignore the numbers either. We all have to do our part to take care of ourselves, take care of our loved ones to the best of our abilities, but also making sure that we're seeking help when we need it.
That's a lot of great information that you provided here for anyone who might be watching again. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we want to kind of bring more awareness to the help that might be out there. We've talked a lot about what people should do and the signs that they should recognize, but I want to get from you on your side of the industry. Is there a common misconception that you see about what you do in your line of work?
Mhm. A common misconception amongst like other professionals, or just from the public on to what it is that
I
we
would
do?
say the public. The public.
Mm. Well, I would say that there are common misconceptions with mostly anything, unless you're actively or directly involved in that thing. I mean, really understand this, that once upon a time, right, therapists were called shrinks, head doctors, right? Negative connotation that is pretty much tied to that for so many different historical reasons, right, that we can get into, that we are still overcoming today, right? As it relates to what it is that we were doing to actually help people, or in terms of what people were doing to actually not do their best job of helping other people, which is important to be able to put into context. We have to acknowledge these things, right? But ultimately, at this time, I would say that we are shedding every day the stigma of mental health, and that you are crazy if you have to go and see a provider. It's not even a word that it is that I use when I'm sitting with folks and helping them whatsoever, right? Because being able to seek that help, it does not mean that something necessarily has to be wrong with you, right? Folks come here often to be able to see me to do preventative work, right? Or just making sure that they know that they have a support and remind themselves of that, right, in their lives. So, folks are allowed to have an opinion, right? That's the beauty of being individuals, of being unique, is that our opinions can vary, right, at the end of the day. But I tell folks often, if you really want to know what this is about, come step into my office. I'll be happy to help.
Well, it sounds like you would be a great person to chat with. You've been wonderful today. Any final thoughts, Jaron?
I would just encourage folks to never forget that we are in this together. That you do not have to suffer in silence. That your mind deserves the same care as your body, and to just ultimately be kind. Everyone's fighting battles that we cannot see. And it's just important that we do our due diligence to check on our strong friends, and make sure that we're focusing on, progress and not perfection.
Jaron Doby, thank you so much for chatting with us. And thank you to all you for watching Queen City News Plus.